Hey guys, how you guys doing? My name is Daniel Erwin, CEO and founder of Carolina Ballistics and Training Academy. Please follow us on Facebook, Carolina Ballistics and Training Academy, our website at carolinaballisticsta.net, and our Instagram and TikTok at Carolina Ballistics TA. All right, guys, this is our first episode, so we're really excited about that. Myself and David are extremely happy to have this opportunity to talk to you guys in connection with what Carolina Ballistics and Training Academy is all about. Well, first, let me introduce our company. Carolina Ballistics is a firearm organization whose goal is to inform, expand, and expose the community to firearms and the 2A community. We here at Carolina Ballistics and Training Academy believe in the old adage in that knowledge is power. So if that is a fact, then that means the conqueror of ignorance is knowledge and exposure. We at CBTA have recognized that there is a plethora of misinformation in connection with firearms and firearm education. So our goal is to inform and flood the community, not just the communities in the Carolina, but just the community in general, about accurate information pertaining to firearms. We here at Carolina Ballistics and Training Academy are a completely non-political entity. We believe that firearms are inanimate objects, and we cannot have politics in connection with inanimate objects. So we neither support or endorse any political party. So first, what we're going to do is I'm going to talk about myself a little bit. All right, so my name is Daniel Erwin. I'm an active duty service member. I served in the United States Army for a little bit under 10 years as an infantryman. I operated from a rifleman, a grenadier, a saw gunner, a 240 gunner, and I'll be serving at another capacity in the coming future. I'm a graduate at Purdue University with an associate's degree in criminal justice, a bachelor's degree in criminal justice with a focus on domestic terrorism, and currently I'm working on my master's degree in homeland security and crisis management. But most importantly, I am a father of 4 kids and a wife of 5 years. God, I hope I got that right. What interested me in starting this whole process, I think we all can acknowledge the civil unrest that has come in the last couple of years pertaining to rioting and all around just a really negative spirit that society has pretty much promoted lately. And I really want people to have the ability to protect their families and their friends and their property and their community. I believe those are the strongest emotions that a person can possibly have. Well, that's enough about me. I'm going to introduce you guys to my host, and this man needs no introduction. This man is a legend around these parts here in Fayetteville. Mr. David Harris. David, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, man.
Yeah, I don't know a lot about a legend, but I'm known.
Yeah.
So my name is David Harris, originally from California, the Bay Area. I'm married, been married now for 17 years. Have 2 kids, a 17-year-old and 13-year-old, 1 boy, 1 girl.
Jeez.
Been at Fort Bragg going on 19 years. I was in the 82nd, and I crossed over and became a member of 3rd Special Forces Group as a Special Forces and Weapons Sergeant. Did 6 years, about 6 years in Charlie Company, 2nd Battalion. And then I did about almost 6 more years in BCO, the CRIF. It used to be called the CRIF, the Crisis Management Force in 3rd Group for another 6. And then I went over and instructed. So when I retire next year, it'll be 20 years military, 17 of those will be active in 3rd Special Forces Group. I did my last 4 years, the last 4 recent years, I was instructing at 3rd Group SFAWIC for CQB, Special Forces. SFAWIC stands for Special Forces Advanced Urban Combat. I did 2 years as a PI for CQB, and then I did 2 years as a PI for CMMS.
Wow. So, and just, you were the absolute badass that
No, I wouldn't say that, man.
here.
I'll be honest, I just feel taking pride in what you do and trying to do it well is a big deal to me. It's about performance, but bigger than that is Just being blessed, man. I've been really fortunate, and I'm just a regular guy that works hard. That's about it.
That's awesome. So I mean, I think the obvious question in connection with you is what got you interested in going the special force route? I mean, for somebody that went through the SWIC process in general, I went through SWIC the first time and fell completely out. It's a tough process, and the special force community has I'll say it's not really brother friendly there. They don't have a whole lot of brothers in there.
Okay, that's a nice way of putting it.
What got you interested in going special forces?
I'm gonna be totally honest with you. I kind of by accident. So I was planning on getting out the Army. I was done. I was in 82nd. I was like, man, I'm gonna become a recruiter. Go back home and get out
and make it a drill sergeant, something crazy.
So my buddy of mine was like, hey man, you should try this special forces thing. And I was like, what's that? So he took me to the recruiter. We went in, and the recruiter was talking to me, and I'm a simple-minded guy. So the recruiter was talking to me, and he said, hey, he said all this spiel, and I said, okay, man, check it out. When the war is over, will I still deploy? And he was like, yeah. I was like, well, let's try it. So I went to the 82nd. 82nd, I did 13 months in Iraq.
Wow.
We came back from Iraq, and the very next month, I went and took a PT test to go to selection.
Wow.
And that's what turned it on. The guy who talked me into it actually quit in selection.
Oh, wow.
And then I got selected, and once I got selected, I just passed everything. I didn't fail any phase. I just passed the first time through. But I did have to learn how to swim.
Or drown really good.
I got enough swimming skills to sell either one kid or myself.
Wow. So let's talk a little bit about the selection phase. You went through selection. What was that like? Going through selection?
For me, I'll be honest. I did when I was in Iraq, when we weren't on mission, I was working out. Physically, it's going to be tiring. You're going to get tired no matter what. But I would say honestly, it is like it's normal. People can do it. People like to try to act like they're better than or holier or up this like, oh, I got a tab, so I'm a big deal. No, you prepared yourself physically and you went and did it. It's not. It's just a lot of walking and a lot of running.
A whole lot of rucking too.
A lot of walking and running fast, ruck running. And I mean, to be honest with you, if you prepare yourself for that, right? So the thing I always say, and it's something in life, not just for selection. It's something in life is a why. So everything I do, you got to have a why, right? And your reason why you're doing something has to be deeper than whatever pain or agony or whatever. Like, hey, you want to work out and lose 20 pounds. Okay. Is your why strong enough to get you up at 5 a.m?
Wow.
Is your why strong enough that when you're tired and your feet hurt to keep running?
Wow. And
that's what your thing is. Mine was, I didn't like being in the 82nd as a 14 Sierra. I didn't like that job. So I was like, look, I don't want to go back there. So I'm just going to keep moving forward.
Yeah. And you know, that why is, and you're 100% right. In connection with that why, I remember when I was a civilian before I joined the military. I joined the military considering it was considered late.
How old were you?
I think I was like 24.
Okay, that's not too old.
Yeah. But I remember before that, I was a CNA. So I was like wiping ass for like 10 years of my life. And I got to a point, I was like, I can't do it. I cannot do it one more second. So when I went through basic and AIT, like you know, you're sitting there and you're seeing guys like cry, and it was crazy. And I remember sitting there and I'm like, this ain't that bad. This ain't that bad at all. So that why is a powerful motivator in connection with propelling the person beyond, and especially when you're operating at a high level, especially that in connection with MOSs that require direct action. You've done a lot of direct action. What kind of things for you personally did you have to prep your mind to be able? Direct action basically means to engage enemy you force against force type of scenario. So that's what we're talking about right here in connection with David Harris, prepping his mind in connection with going on these deployments that death is a probability. How did you prep your mind for that?
I'll be honest with you. You realize it's part of the game and you get it. It's part of the job. It can happen, but it's not something you dwell on.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I didn't spend a lot of time thinking like, oh man, I could get shot on this. Like just doing stuff. Like the worst feeling I ever had was in a tick once, and I had the crow system went down, and I had to get on top of the vehicle in the middle of the firefight to fix the gun.
Wow.
And I was like, this sucks.
Wow.
But other than that, I've never really.
This is extremely uncomfortable.
Like I didn't like that feeling. But other than that, I didn't have a huge mental like, hey, I'll be honest, and it's gonna sound probably horrible. Yeah. Is that my biggest fear probably was losing a hand. And
I can agree with that.
Because
100%.
I was always like, yo, I want to be able to, like, my wife and kids and hold them and touch them and stuff. And I was like, so if I had to lose a limb, I'm not. And I think the bigger issue that people have, and we don't spend a lot of time on since we're talking about preparing yourself mentally, is we understand the scars we see. You're missing a leg, I see that. But we're still learning how to understand the scars up here of things people have seen.
And I think that's a really powerful point that you made, because like I've been in the military going close to about 10 years now. I remember from the beginning, like how mental health was addressed. Like it was like completely rejected, completely shunned. You got mental illness, you're weak, you're a loser. You know what I'm saying? To where we are now, which is more catered towards, hey, okay, you got some issues. Yeah, we probably are responsible for some of that. Let's go ahead and send you to sub C. You know what I'm saying?
So
go ahead.
Oh, so what we don't, and I think what we don't address enough is understanding that, like, everyone starts at a different level of coping, and part of you getting selected, all those tests you take, is part of your I guess the ability to cope and bounce back from events. Well, at a certain point, you just can't cope. And it's like, okay, and I know for me, and I'll be honest, since we're having an honest conversation, for me, the turning point wasn't so much that I was upset, because let's be honest, at army work, I could go off, curse you out, no one and they're like, haha, you lost your mind. My issue was when I was like, hey, I'm gonna go talk to some people, was when I started going off on my kids all the time. And the anger level I was reacting with was higher than
it needed to be. I can 100% agree with that, in connection with myself as well. And it's hard to explain. Like, you can just go off and then just be right back down. But like when you're talking to like your kids or your wife, like that shit is like traumatizing for them. You know what I'm saying? And it took a couple times for me to realize mentally that like that is like unacceptable. You know what I'm saying? Well, so go ahead.
No, so I think one of the things that at least for me that worked the best was my career trajectory, where I was high op tempo for 13 years. Wow. And then went off and became an instructor and been home for almost 4 years now. Wow. Well, now guess what? My family and me, we have a system. Like, things are smooth now, but that first year and a half, it was hard on everyone. Wow, because I was still in that, someone does something, my instant response is, like, this is the deal. And you don't want to be that way with your kids.
And next thing you know, they scared when you come home and stuff. That's a nightmare.
I will say, on the caveat, sometimes they take it as an advantage. Oh, you didn't have to react like this. And then, no. The level of anger I have
is still there. 100%. I'm just controlling myself.
No, I'm telling you were wrong, and I'm mad about it. But, that's because no, it ain't. You shouldn't have done that.
And you got teenagers too. So it's like, for me, my kids are all under the age of 5. So like, like I've learned that, like, I don't really even need to, like, allow myself to go there anymore. Like I've gotten to a point and I'm like saying like one word, like stop.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And that, oh snap.
Yeah. I got the ones where you say stop and they're like, yeah, Dad, and I'm like, what? Hey, check it out, man.
You don't know me, son.
Yeah.
I'll go hooligan. Yeah. All right, so let's get into the meat and potatoes of things.
All right.
So we talked a little bit about ourselves, our business, what we're about. Now we're going to talk a little bit about firearms and society.
Okay.
Right. So firearms in the community, not just in like America's society, but particularly in the African American community, it is a controversial subject.
Okay, I agree with that.
My father, we would call he's very devout Christian.
Okay.
Right. Completely anti-gun. You know what I'm saying? He subscribed heavily to like, the Martin Luther King philosophy of nonviolence and stuff like that.
Understood.
Do you think the influence of that concept still exists within the African American community? What do you think about that?
Do I think, making sure I understand,
Go ahead.
do I think that the African Americans believe in nonviolence?
Mm-hmm.
I would say, that's a hard, deep question.
Yeah.
I would say yes and no.
Yeah.
I say yes as in like, I don't think that we are going out looking for things, but I would say no because, like, if you look at all the civil unrest with the Black Lives Matter movements, and I'm not even saying they did anything wrong. I'm saying like the riot part of it, and then and you could say, hey, we're nonviolent, but in Portland when well, that's violent, and
True.
then if you break it into people, that's violence. Or then if you look at our community and we say, hey, now this isn't a hit on anything.
Yeah,
because
for sure.
if you look at it, 80% of I think it might be more than that now. 80% of African American gun violence is against each other, right?
Yeah.
Well, but that's not
anything substantial.
No, because you're gonna do violence of who you're around. So isn't white violence against white people? Isn't Spanish violence against Spanish people? So that's not really a category.
In connection with that same thought, I was looking at it was actually a statistic that I did for a class, and it like. Let's say you have someone that killed somebody in like their household. Let's say a wife. Let's say a murder happened between a husband. Let's say a husband died. First person they're going to look at is the wife. Where was the wife? Or if the wife dies, first person they're going to look at is the husband, because most times when it comes to like familial damage, it's usually the people who are within their realm of association. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you're 1,000,000% accurate. I agree with that.
So I would say that if we're looking at the Martin Luther King thing, I would say we've lost a lot of
time,
the guidance. Like, well, the nonviolence, but even if we're using violence, either way, nonviolent or violent, what's your end game? What are you trying to accomplish? Like, we're doing things, but what do we want at the end of this? Like, what's the path? Like, okay, and then the thing is, when we have a path, right? Well, you think about Martin Luther King or Malcolm X or any of the great leaders. Like, you can say, hey, a movement. Well, when you had a movement, at the end of that movement, they still had a end state. And guess what? Everyone involved in the movement knew the end state.
For sure.
Not just like I could come forward, hey, we're going to go on this walk from here to here, or hey, we're doing a bus boycott.
It was an objective.
But everyone knew it, not just the leader. Not just everyone knew why we were doing it.
General understanding.
Because if I know why I'm doing something, I'm buying in and I'll do it. I'll understand.
So one thing that I really was the strategy of Martin Luther King. I thought the strategy was probably in connection with the fight against civil rights and right for equality, was that Martin Luther King understood the atmosphere. You know what I'm saying? There has been people prior, like Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X. There's been historically several individuals that supported I wouldn't say revolt, but at least separation. But Martin Luther King understood the impact that a nonviolent movement would make, especially in an atmosphere in which violence against you is not even really recognized as a crime, if that makes sense. Go ahead.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing was the level of violence.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
sure.
so if you're doing nonviolence and I just push you, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But if you're doing nonviolence and then like in Mississippi,
and they burn the truck and kill everybody.
If they do that or blow up churches and stuff, now that level of violence, because you don't want me to come to Alabama University, is not consistent with what we're doing.
Yeah, for sure. But what in connection with that, I think what Martin Luther King was seeing was that, if we can get this on camera, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And that was the big thing that movement did, was really expose them. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Go ahead. You seen the bridge. Everyone seen
Selma.
Selma. They crossed the bridge. Yeah. And if the cops would have just made a line and stood there, well, okay, you put that on camera, nothing happens. But when you have film of dogs being released, and people being beaten, and people with water, now everyone as a society says, hey, we got to be better than this. Yeah.
And now, fortunately, we have made progress. I wouldn't say we're by any means perfect or a completely equal society at this point, but I would say that an African American owning a firearm isn't necessarily considered illegal anymore, and they are now able to, with the law's aid, defend themselves. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think that's the big difference from where we were to where we are now. Here's a little statistic. 5 years for the last 5 years, the greatest purchaser in firearms are not just women, but black women.
Yeah.
Black women have completely dominated the firearm ownership field. You know what I'm saying? And for me, especially to see a group of people that have been completely marginalized, I think that's a beautiful thing.
I would totally agree with you.
Yeah.
I think that it's I think a lot of circumstances help with that.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're not talking about those circumstances.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think a lot of things contribute to that.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like we look at our society now, and let's be real about it. I'm just being totally honest. 80% of kids are born out of wedlock. Yeah. Most women are most people that get divorced is marriage rate is 70% divorce rate, something around there now.
Sure.
So now, men, I'm not saying men shouldn't have guns. I have plenty.
Oh, yeah.
But what I'm saying is, as a woman, guess what? I am not as supposed to be. Most men are going to be physically more strong. So I'm going to get of something that I know I can defend myself with.
Absolutely.
So that helps. That's one of the reasons I think that has something to do with it.
Absolutely.
Because if I'm alone, I'm going to make sure I have something to protect myself.
For sure. And when I look internally, we talked a little bit about like the physical differences. One thing, let me back up a little bit. One thing that Carolina Ballistics and Training Academy wants to offer is a Women's on Target course, which is a specific program that we have in connection with educating women in firearms to address that basic truth. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I think the biggest thing is you can buy guns, is what I told you before. You can have firearms. You can have a way to defend yourself. But if you don't get training, then you're lacking. Yeah. You're lacking. Now you're as dangerous to yourself as you are to the person.
Yeah, and I think one instructor actually put it to me this way. He said, just owning a firearm makes you 100% more dangerous. But to whom you're dangerous to is contingent upon your training. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's a strong point. Like if you're in a scenario and you feel that you're forced to use your firearm and you're not trained and you miss your aggressor and you hit the kid behind them or the mom walking down the street, like, that's murder, buddy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It don't matter what the scenario was. That's murder, buddy.
I agree. I totally agree.
So yeah, we absolutely want to encourage training. I feel like we're in a society, especially in our culture, in connection with not just African Americans, but the two-way community. We start to become like firearm Nazis, and we start talking about brands and brands. Brands becomes the focal point. I know a dude right now, I'm not going to give him a shout out because this is on a national level, but I know a dude right now that has, like, no lie, $50,000 worth of guns. You know what I'm saying? He got them all. Name any high brand rifle, he owns it.
Okay.
Man couldn't hit the broadside of a barn.
Yeah.
For sure. So training, that is of utmost importance here at Carolina Ballistics and Training Academy. Not only do we offer that women's course, we're also offering in the Fayetteville area several crisis management seminars that we're going to offer to the public. It's probably going to be roughly around $25. But we want as many people to be aware of how crises can happen and to prepare as many people as possible so that they are properly able to defend themselves, their family, and their possessions. So we got a little bit more time. So real quick, David, give us an experiment, a notable experiment that you had at your work in crit. Experience.
Okay.
Experience.
I was like, what?
Yeah. I got my E's messed
No,
up.
you're good. At that work?
Yeah.
Okay, what you're asking? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So give
work.
you an experience I had at work.
Yeah.
As in, like, shooting?
Yeah, and engaging. If you're able to give us any, like, specifics in connection with what you do at work.
Okay.
As much as you're comfortable with sharing.
Yeah. I'm not a big war Nazi. Look at me, war story guy. I would say, I think people don't realize, and people can say what they want. I mean, I'm just going to be honest. I think people don't realize when you are actually having to shoot someone that if it's actually close range, the chances of you using your optic is going to be
slim to none.
Slim.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not saying like, oh, you're not going to use the optic at all. What I am saying is, I remember the one time I've had to do something like that, I probably fired 3 rounds as I was bringing the gun up to my face. So, like, I think people need to realize, like, if someone really appears on you and it shocks you, you're not reacting with this smooth draw, everything looks perfect.
Yeah.
Like, chances are you're going to be, if he's within 10 yards, 8 meters, you're almost point shooting. Wow. Because if he has a gun and you have a gun, it's a race now, right?
Yeah.
So, are you really doing this well-aimed shot for the No, you're not doing that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's probably the biggest thing I would say is my takeaway there.
That's an awesome input right there. Because I know a lot of people, when they think about training, they're like, oh, I'll just go to an indoor range and fire off a couple shots. But, like, boom,
Yeah. So,
but go ahead.
I think one of the things, and I think we talked about it, like how to identify trainers at some point.
Yeah.
But one of the things you got to realize when you're talking about trainers is, or training, is speed. But part of that is 3 modes, right? So we need to get accurate. You got to be able to hit the target.
Yeah.
And then after that, if I can hit the target, well, let's stop working on hitting targets. Let's start trying to do it quicker.
Real quick, if you're just tuning in, this is Carolina Ballistics and Training Academy. This is our first podcast. My name is Daniel Erwin. We're talking with the co-host here, Mr. David Harris. We have a plethora of knowledge to share and input to provide for the community. Like us on Facebook at Carolina Ballistics and Training Academy on Facebook. Like us on TikTok at Carolina Ballistics TA LLC, and like us on Instagram at Carolina Ballistics TA. All right. David Harris is giving us some input in connection with reacting to a target. Would you mind continuing on that thought?
So I think when you're training, you need to be able to get on target quickly.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm not saying like, hey, you're just shooting blind. No.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is you're getting your gun up and on target quickly.
For sure.
And you're learning at what distance do you really, how much front sight or how much dot do I really need?
Yeah.
So that's the only way to understand, like, hey, do you always need to go to iron sights, right?
Yeah.
So if we're talking irons, do I always need to go to front sight focus?
Yeah.
At 7, I'm gonna be honest, even if I'm shooting 3-inch dots, I don't really start like aiming until I'm at 10.
Yeah.
I'm kind of just point shooting because I'm like, hey, the gun's an extension of my hand from 3, 5, and 7.
Wow.
If I can point a straight line, I'll hit the target.
For sure.
So I can so I know that. So now, hey, that's with a 3-inch dot. Well, guess what? I know I can get away with a lot more stuff on a silhouette. So I'm like, hey, now we're practicing that. Now we're practicing that. Now we're building speed.
Yeah.
But you have to already have fundamentals mastered to work this. Because if you don't have that, you're hurting yourself.
So we clearly see that there is a whole lot more involved in just owning a firearm. Education and skill has to not only be acquired, but has to consistently be sharpened.
Yes. Shooting's a perishable skill.
It is 100% a perishable skill. You can lose it. Yeah. And I feel like that needs to be highlighted. You can lose it if you don't use it. We're going to conclude on a final thought in connection with why you decided to become a firearm owner. Why did you? Well, you know what? I'm going to give you a second. I'm going to tell you why I decided to become a firearm owner.
Yes, please. I was going to say, question to you.
All right. So I became a firearm owner because it wasn't anything like dark or anger or rage or anything. It was really out of love. I had a strong desire to ensure that my family was protected, my children were protected. And especially, when we go on these deployments and we see horrendous things happen, like we just came back from Afghanistan last year, and at the H-Kai airport, and the stuff that, we experienced there, I saw kids that were my kids' age, you know what I'm saying? And it drove inside of me a strong, well, it wasn't like I just started buying guns then, but it assisted. It was a strong desire to ensure that my family is safe. You know what I'm saying? I feel that especially when it comes to not only just firearm owners, but warriorship in general, feeding on dark energy is like dangerous to you as a person. Hate, rage, anger. Yeah. Those are hard emotions to sustain over a period of time. In fact, you're more likely to have like stomach ulcers and all kinds of other stuff. But feeding on light energy like love, protection, defense, those emotions are just as powerful as darker emotions, but it's a lot more sustainable. You know what I'm saying? And that's what really led me to becoming a firearm owner, and I feel that for the most part, most people who are firearm owners in America want to use it for defense purposes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And there is a population of people that use dark energy or dark emotions to purchase firearms, but that is by far the minority of firearm owners, in my opinion.
Yeah.
What about you? What's your thoughts on why you decided to become a firearm owner?
Mine is a lot more simple than yours. Yours is pretty deep, man. So as long as I remember, I've always loved guns.
Yeah.
I love shooting.
Yeah.
And when I say shooting, I don't mean just like I mean, I love the science. We start talking about ballistic coefficients and winds and Coriolis. I'm all about everything about it.
For sure.
So I loved shooting so much. And I got a funny story. I'm sorry to eat the time.
No, you good. Good.
I love guns so much that when I was a kid, my family didn't let me play with guns anymore because I took a gun into
this guy's obsessed.
Yeah, so me and my grandmother were in Bank of America,
and
I snuck one of my toy guns in.
Wow!
And what do you think I tried to do?
Try to hold up the bank.
Yes, I did. At 7 years old. I tried to hold up the bank. And that's when they took all my guns.
Oh, wow.
So I've loved guns my whole
Wow.
life.
Wow.
So I'll be honest, what I did learn is I've always loved guns.
Yeah.
And it becomes being proficient with them.
For sure.
Like, that's when I really got into shooting.
Yeah.
Like, when I was like, okay, I want to be proficient with, like, I want to be, for lack of a better term, surgical.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be precise
be
with
good
this.
at it.
Yeah. And that's what made me really dive into shooting.
Like, it's interesting that you say that. I remember when I was a younger person, I'd say around pretty much as young as I can remember, I used to like fantasize about, being a warrior. I used to think about it. I would create my entire world, and I'm over here, being this person. And it was kind of interesting because I grew up in a household in which like guns were completely like pushed out of the way. They were like bad, unacceptable. And then when I joined the military and I actually fired a rifle, do you remember that? Have you ever seen Suicide Squad with Will Smith?
Yes.
You remember? You remember when he picked the gun up and shot it? He goes,
Yeah.
"Oh, y'all done messed up." Yeah. That's how I felt.
Yeah.
It was immediate attraction.
Yeah.
Immediate attraction. But yeah, all right. Well, that was cool. That's our first episode, guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Daniel, David, we're excited to host this podcast. I'm going to give a big shout out to Deep Freeze Production and Vic for allowing us to share this space with you guys. Also, shout out to the Fayetteville newspaper and Dwight for making all this possible. Hey guys, this is our episode, and y'all be good.